Our next topic that we're going to talk about is the richest corporations getting welfare from the government. Why do taxpayers always have to subsidize the richest corporations? And this is a actually from a blog from our guy Bernie Sanders, and he talks about how the taxpayers subsidize big corporations because they give such little bit of money. They pay poverty wage, and that includes Walmart, McDonald's, and other large corporations. My man Gabe, take it away.
It is socialism for the rich, and it is rugged individualism for the poor. So if you're a working class person, they tell you pull yourself up by the bootstraps. But if you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, you are able to basically get by and be subsidized by the taxpayers. FDR said that no corporation that cannot afford to pay a living wage should be allowed to exist in this country. And we have there's many examples in this article, from Walmart to McDonald's to Home Depot and many others.
And who else?
Home Depot and many other ones. Oh,
and
Amazon.
And who else? Oh,
Amazon.
Okay. Just wanted to make
sure. So pretty much we have to, we need a living wage, that a minimum wage that's a living wage. So whether it's $15, whether it's more in the states that have even a higher cost of living, there's been studies that show that if the minimum wage kept up with productivity and kept up with inflation, that it would be in the 20s, not even 15. So we need to increase the living wage. We have to do things like Medicare for all, so that people don't have to go on Medicaid. As it was another thing that this article called out, was these same corporations that have people getting other assistance are also getting Medicaid because they can't afford it. So we just need to have Medicare for all, but we have to make these corporations pay, because we think, oh yeah, I'm getting better prices at Walmart, even though I don't shop at Walmart, or I'm getting better prices at Amazon, and I still unfortunately shop at Amazon. So, but at the same time, we are, through our taxes, still paying for the difference of those prices. So you're paying it now, or you're paying it later, because these corporations refuse to pay a living wage. The burden gets put back on us as taxpayers. And I did the math one time with Walmart specifically, where it was a couple of years ago, and they had, I want to say it was something like $60 billion that was profit for the year, but they were receiving something like $18 billion worth of I could be off on the numbers, but at the time it was something like that, where if they just gave a little bit of their profits, not even their earnings, which could be cost of operation or whatever, but the overage, the profits, if they just took a little hair off of that, they wouldn't need to take any money or any benefits from the government, but they just refuse to. So it's, again, we have to be better about where we shop, myself included, as I click another Amazon purchase. So I try my best, but I still fail sometimes.
But they're not gonna do it unless they're forced to. I mean, that's how it is, unfortunately. And I'm familiar with that chart about productivity. And one thing that it correlates perfectly to that since the 70s is that the demise of unions at the same time. Because there's negatives to unions, of course, but I'm more pro-union than not, because even if you're not part of the union, it pushes wages up for the other companies that are afraid to have unions in their businesses. So they don't want the unions, they got to pay their employees more. And that's the reason why, they have all these union busting things going on at, Walmart, Amazon, all these places. They basically scare employees into trying to form unions because they know that once they have some kind of collective bargaining power, they're able to bring wages up.
Let's look at how good Walmart have it, right? So it's designed, it's a design system. So you pay your people nothing. Then you take the SNAP. So then you have those people in the SNAP program, and they get to shop in your own store. So all that money is being spent in your store. So all that profit is really basically coming from all those employees that you have in the SNAP program. And then so you have all this lobbying getting about not increasing the minimum wage, right? Because it's always the whole concept of, well, the minimum wage should not be the same. It's based on state-wise. And all those companies are just racking in all those money from government. But we also got to look about politicians, right? Like Republican and Democrats. They had the chances to increase and they never do it. And then a lot of the time we also like never talk about the voters. Like these people are the constantly folks that keep voting against their own self-interest. Like we are over here fighting for them to try to get a minimum wage increase, and they'll be the one that'll be like, nah, I don't need a minimum wage increase. That's socialism. Like, so how do we, we have to fix we can't constantly always be like, I'm not defending corporations because they're greedy. They always be greedy. And, politicians are bought by corporation. But like, what do we have to do to like wake people up and let them know, like, look, like we have to vote these politicians out if we really want to have some changes.
And you talk about using our vote, right? Well, like I always say, our votes we can cast those votes at the ballot box, and we can also cast them in the way we spend our dollars. And that's key. If we want to make changes in these organizations, in these corporations, we can make those changes via the choices that we make with our money. And that's key to me, because even though Gabe didn't want to touch on this, a lot of people saw that report that came out from the GAO that Bernie Sanders referenced, and they focused specifically on Amazon, because Amazon showed up in the top 25 employers with workers enrolled in SNAP in 6 out of those 9 states that were studied. And they had $5.2 billion in profit during the quarter where that report came out from. And that's after they already raised their minimum wage to $15 per hour. So if they're not the perfect example of like a study where you can raise the minimum wage to $15 and still have millions of people on SNAP benefits or Medicaid, then I mean, what more can we really ask for? The $15 minimum wage is not enough. That's the bottom line. It's not enough. We have to be able to decide with our dollars and through legislation that companies like this should not be able to continue operating this way.
Let me play a little devil's advocate over here. What do you say to the people that say, well, if you want to make more money, then don't work at Amazon, don't work at Walmart, go get another job, go somewhere else?
I mean, if they're a monopoly, though.
Maybe you could go to college and spend $200,000 on a degree, and maybe you could also still work at Amazon. It's like one of those things that for a lot of people is very hard to get out of that cycle and progress.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And Bedon brings up a good point in the chat. He's asking, okay, well, where can someone shop if they don't shop on Amazon? My question was, well, where did you shop before Amazon? And he wants to be a joker and say Walmart.
That is true. I used to shop at Walmart.
But I think at this point, this is what I profiled in my Amazon video a number of probably months ago now, where it's fairly easy for us to boycott Walmart at this point. We're already well aware of all the issues with Walmart. We can do the same thing with McDonald's. Not many of us, I think, are eating too much at McDonald's anymore these days. I mean, obviously, billions of people are, but not necessarily progressives. But we have to make our choices with our dollars, and we have to shop more locally. We have to shop more in person. We have to shop less online and give up that convenience that we didn't always have. We didn't always live with this convenience. We can live without it in certain areas, in certain cases, at certain times. I don't think that's that much to ask.
Maybe one thing we need to put up is like a list of progressive approved companies. So like Lowe's versus Home Depot, and even Lowe's is on this list, even though they're slightly better than Home Depot. But come up with this list because it is hard. Like for example, I'm doing some project right now where I have to go to a Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace Hardware a lot. And if I go to Lowe's and if they don't have what I need, it's like, damn, now I need to go to Home Depot, which I don't want to go there. And the Lowe's is even further than me, but then I still have to compromise sometimes. So, or I have to order something quick from Amazon. If not, I'm going to be delayed 5 days. So it's one of those things where maybe
the horror.
Yeah. So maybe we have to come up with something to make that easier too for people, where you just have all categories like ice cream, Ben and Jerry's, the most progressive, etc.
Another thing that probably us, we're a little privileged in that we could choose and we could do better. But there's some people that, man, if they're not shopping a Walmart, they have to spend a larger percentage of their paychecks at a Publix or something like that, and that's tough. It's hard to tell people that are living below poverty line to make some kind of moral decision when they need to live.
I agree with you. I completely agree with you. But let's be honest here. Who's propping up Amazon more? The poor people or the people who just want the convenience and have that ability? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I completely agree with you, though. You're 100% right about, I'm not asking poor people who don't have the choice to make a different choice. That's not what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to say something else because I was looking at this, subsidizing thing, and I was looking at Because I remember states that get more back in federal money than they put in, which is the same kind of thing about all these corporations, capitalists, whatever. And it happens to be most of the red states are the ones that pay less in federal taxes, but that they get more in return than what they actually put in. When I looked it up it was from 2019. 11 states there's only 11 states that actually don't get more back than they put in.
California, New York,
The liberal states.
Not all. There's Alabama's in there. I was surprised.
Oh,
But
wow.
Alabama, California, Connecticut, Illinois, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Nebraska, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Utah, and Wyoming. But when you look at the numbers,
Where's Utah at? I never heard of that place.
but when you look at the numbers, though, the money that they're on the negative is Alabama be like 169 million. Nebraska is 267 million. All these red states combined are less or about the same as New Hampshire. That's 749 million. Meanwhile, California is almost 14 billion. New Jersey was like 27 billion. They give a few million more. Meanwhile, the red states like Massachusetts are billions in the red. And Florida, for example, with all their probably Medicare retirees are getting $62 billion back. I want to give a special shout out to Kentucky with a 26 billion, which gets about $6,000 per capita tax money. Thanks, Mitch.
And this is the same people that would tell you like, oh, we hate socialism, and they are the one that take all the money from everybody else.
They don't like taxes, but they're getting all the money from the big states that they don't like.
It's definitely a crazy predicament, and it seems like whenever they're like pointing their fingers, 4 fingers pointing right back at them with situations like this, with gay marriage. A lot of times you hear about the same Republican representatives railing against gay marriage, and then you find out that they're closeted gay people themselves, and they just, totally being hypocrites. Let us know what you think about this topic. All these corporations just totally getting welfare, socialism from the government, and let us know what you think. Like and subscribe.